Hi everyone, Coach Tim here, and today I have the privilege to speak with one of my fantastic clients who is not only a very busy man, so thank you, Ned, for taking the time, but also has, a very diligent approach to his training, and he's here to share more about his story to help you on your journey. Great to have you here, Ned.
Hey, Tim, good to speak to you.
Good. So, Ned, just, can you share with us kind of how your training was and how your life was, before we met and before we started working together?
Yeah, so training wise, I probably hadn't changed my training schedule or routine for about 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
And I was finding I was doing the same things, which probably worked pretty well for me in my 20s. But as I was getting towards my 40s, I was realizing that the same routine was probably not building me up for a kind of a long-term plan, or just sort of long-term health, really. So, hitting the same exercises time and time again, although they were familiar, were starting to actually cost me in terms of my flexibility, movement, injury recovery wasn't as quick, and felt like it was a really good opportunity to re-look at how I approach training and movement and health generally. So that was what was going on before, and I think injuries would be the buzzword, certainly,
Yeah.
in terms of them keep coming up.
Yeah. And also, can you share about how we kind of met? It was probably a bit unorthodox as how you would meet a personal trainer, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it might sound a little bit kooky to some people, but I often have this approach where if I'm thinking about something, I'll sort of put it out there into the universe and go, John, I think I need to find someone to work with on this. And so a couple of weeks before we met, I'd sort of put it out there that I'm in the market for finding someone who I can work with. And most normal people would then go and Google personal trainer near me. I was opting for a slightly more serendipitous approach, and then one day my wife had a guest voucher for a kind of sports massage treatment at a hotel. The guest couldn't go, so she asked me, and I said, actually, yeah, why not? And I happened to meet you. But as we were talking about kind of my different ailments, um, you started to speak in a way about movement and physiology and biomechanics in a way that I'd not heard anyone really speak about it. And the fact that you had this training in sort of almost kind of more sports massage therapy, plus the personal training, plus this particular outlook, it was a bit of a light bulb moment for me to go, yeah, this is the guy. So
Yeah.
that's how we met.
Yeah. And I even remember saying to you that this was quite rare connecting with someone, because usually when someone comes to a spa, they just want to relax, they just want to not talk and, just kind of switch off and go into that mode. But I did also, feel that connection straight away. So that was pretty cool, actually, quite a unique way to meet a client, so to speak. So
But
can
I'd
you
say,
tell me?
yeah, and I'd say that's pretty important as well, because it's one of those things that I hadn't worked with someone before, as you know, but it's one of those things that you're sharing stuff about yourself. And if the plan and what you're going about really means something, I think you need to be doing it with someone who you there is some kind of connection. I think it's more than something that's just a transactional turn up and purchase something. So
Hmm.
likewise for me, that was pretty important.
Yeah. And I remember you were, if correct me if I'm wrong, but you were a bit skeptical at first, in terms of what is actually the service I'm offering. But can you just, talk a bit more about how did the journey start? How did I kind of help you in those kind of early weeks?
Yeah, totally. And I was a massive convert because I was extremely skeptical and loved the idea of it, but the practicality of it, and also I've sort of seen myself as quite an independent exerciser. So I was very skeptical about suddenly having someone else involved in that. And actually it took away some of my own thoughts about it. So I was very skeptical from the start. I'm just trying to think specifically. It was, yeah, I'd never been accountable to anyone for that,
Sure. Yeah.
for
Yeah.
exercise actually, and I've sort of always been fairly disciplined myself. So the idea of someone holding me accountable for it felt strange. It was also the value for money. I was kind of unsure about what is the ROI on this, having
Mm.
never really done it before. So yeah, I was definitely a convert, and there was some definite skepticism on my side in terms of doing this with someone where previously I'd been a bit of a lone wolf when it came to exercise and my routine.
Yeah, yeah. And so even though, we had met in person, location wise, we weren't quite close enough to work on a regular basis in person. So, we did go through the online route. Um, how was that initially? I remember I was talking to you about stripping everything down, going back to basics before running. Let's, focus on things like crawling and having, contact with the ground with our hands, and just going really back down to basics. Can you share a bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. And that was an approach that I hadn't come across. I was expecting
Mm,
you get straight into dumbbells and chin ups and
mm,
ropes and all sorts of things. So it was reassuring for me to kind of go back to the beginning,
mm,
particularly because I had injuries relating to my knees and my ankles, and actually starting a program where you build from the ground upwards.
mm,
So although it was online and it was remote, which had its, I guess, its own challenges, but there were also a lot of benefits from that in terms of flexibility of when you do it. And one of the things I think I was most impressed with was the level of rigor and detail. So the schedule that you put together, literally minute by minute, day by day. And there was also this sense of a kind of a journey that we were going on rather than just a kind of one and done routine. And that was something I'd never sort of thought about. And it was exciting to be able to kind of see it as part of a bigger picture rather than just sort of day in, day out.
yeah, yeah. And one thing I remember saying to you was, my job as a coach initially is to educate you and, give you the tools to build your movement arsenal, so to speak. Would you say it's fair that, from before we've worked together to now, you're in a better understanding of movement and you feel a bit more confident in your own practice?
Yeah, 100%. And I think probably it's changed the way I look at exercise from a strength perspective previously, and not necessarily a strength in terms of like muscle bound strength, but sort of a physical strength to actually a physical flexibility and kind of an um, an ability to move freely. So that was a huge eye opener for me, and it certainly changed the way I think about exercise and training, and think about it more in terms of movement and fluidity and those sorts of things, which I think were exactly what I was looking for in terms of building a long-term plan rather than just a quick fix to health and fitness.
Yeah, yeah, nice. And just to kind of sum up, what can you say you've kind of achieved, during our time working together?
Yeah. So what have I achieved? I suppose the results are ongoing.
Mm,
But if there was one thing, funny enough, the thing that I'll probably find most useful out of everything we did is it just changed my direction of travel when it comes to exercise. And I think if I'd carried on in the direction I was going, I would have been in this sort of perpetual cycle of, you know, very fit, injured, unfit, very fit, injured, unfit, and go through
yeah,
that cycle.
yeah,
And what I'm hoping is it sort of changes that direction of travel and creates a more long-term plan that's actually probably more sustainable and better for me
mm,
in the, going forward,
mm,
and is a routine that's more suited to, the next 40 years than maybe the first 40 years, which is what I was most keen to find.
yeah, yeah. All about longevity. No, I'm very, very happy to hear that. Thank you so much, Ned, for sharing everything that you have. Thank you for your kind words. I really appreciate it. Um, and I'm sure that this will inspire others, who are probably on a similar kind of journey, who might be skeptical or who may need some help and, are just need that little push to reach out. So thanks again, Ned. I appreciate your time. And yeah, if anyone would be interested, there's a link below in the description of this video. And if you'd like to book a free consultation, you can do so. So thanks again, Ned, and I really appreciate it.
Perfect. Thanks, Tim. See you soon.
Thanks.
Bye.